The S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, we have a lot to unpack here on the day. But as we approach this week, I think you're in a really good position. Now, ultimately, I like to start with the higher time frame, especially when we break down going into a week, which is what we're going to be doing here. And as you can see, we're well above our previous all times. We're really just grinding to the upside. Now, where I would say the biggest and most interesting opportunity is what's happening with the Russell and what's happening with mid caps. And if you take a step back and you really zoom out here, and again, I'm on the daily, but I'm going to go to the weekly here, you can really see what's really developed and how you're trying to get out of this overall range and break over highs going all the way back to 2021. When you look as far as indexes, as far as the Dow, Nasdaq, S&P 500, and then the Russell's the only one that hasn't really started going crazy, hasn't broken out of those 2021 highs. And I think it's really interesting that we're finally at that spot. Now, again, I made a video earlier today going more into quantum names and how I think that those are the most at-risk plays overall in the market. And I really do firmly believe that. But I still think that overall, if IWM can get structurally out of this, you have a lot of room to the upside. And that just makes me feel more strongly about the rest of the market with what's happening with the Nasdaq, what's happening with the S&P, and really Dow finally breaking out also as well. So again, we are in a really, really good spot. But before we go into all that, I'm going to say right now, if you want to see how we trade, what we trade every single day, the Discord link is down below. You get to see our rundown for the futures, what's happening there. So if you're scalping futures, what's happening, and understanding the direction of the market and how to kind of plan out your day as well. Going more into our trade ideas, which are more swing trades, exact entries, giving you where we're looking to get in, ultimately where we're looking to take profits as well. And then, of course, our scalps intraday as well, going more into Tesla, some of these other trades, not exact entries, but showing you the setups that we want to see to get in and out of the market as well. So really setting you up for success on all levels of the market, long-term, short-term, and then planning your day as well. Going more into profits, you can see that in there. So again, I don't like to hype that up, but the Discord link is down below if you're interested. Also, like I said, with futures, if you want to trade futures or you're looking to get into it, I think prop firms are the way to go. I don't know how to say that. But again, what I use personally are the straight to funded accounts under Project X. I love the Project X platform. I have a video explaining Project X most likely this coming week on my YouTube channel, my second YouTube channel. But anyways, that is there. The 50K accounts are what I use. If you want to go more towards the eval phase, like Top Step, something like that, again, I still use Project X, but I use the 50K accounts, and you're still getting this for $100 cheaper on Tradeify than you are doing that with Top Step, which is crazy and what a deal. So again, links down below. Check them out. Let's get back to the video. Now, going into this week, last week was pretty interesting. We had Powell talking. We had a lot of people talking. We had unemployment information. Then we had PCE to finish the week. This week's definitely a lot more chill. Okay, I'm not going to say we have nothing going on, but it's a lot less. You have some housing information, what's happening with mortgage rates, get some Fed speakers, but nothing insane. No crazy data, no crazy unemployment information. You have some jobless claims at the end of the week, but that's going to really be it. I'm just telling you right now. There's no reason to overanalyze what's going to be happening as far as data is being released. You had some of the biggest information last week. Now, you have non-farm payrolls at the end of the week. That's going to be the biggest thing that's going to be coming out there to let you know. Going further from that, I would be keeping an eye on where mortgage rates are moving. I'll go into that here in this video as well, but they're slowly upticking, which we thought they would after the first cut. But the question is do they kind of stall out and ultimately start heading back ultimately below 6%, which is what we want to see, which could further signal strength on the overall market as well. Because again, when the housing market as well, stock market as well. Going back into IWM. Again, we're going to be doing a little bit of back and forth here today, but I really do believe, guys, and you're not out of it yet. You haven't broke out. You don't have confirmation. Really what I would like to see is like above like 140 or 245, 246. Above that on a daily close, I'd be very, very bullish, and I'd be looking for some rips to the upside, okay? Going back into NASDAQ NQ futures, what's happening there? Again, a lot more levels, as you can see here. But let's go structurally down to like the 15 minutes so you can see the market hasn't really opened up here on the Sunday, but we'll see. Now, your levels here, again, you had a big scare kind of dipping down here more into Thursday into Friday. But something I want to highlight, and I have to go more into smaller time frames, look at futures, as you can clearly see you're making higher lows out of this. And again, sellers had opportunities, and this is something that we talk about all the time is you're going – I look at futures so much because it really tells you the story of what's actually happening in the market. Are sellers getting opportunities? Are buyers getting opportunities? Is there follow through? And so all of my indicators, everything that I use is all based off of like relative strength of what's happening in the market and how we are reacting from those levels as well. And as you can see, NASDAQ, and ES making higher lows now off this and bouncing right back in to ultimately get back into the all-time high range. And you can see when we get above this, like basically 6,700 level, you almost have pushed into 6731 pretty easily. Same thing on the NASDAQ. Now, the bigger question here is Dow. And again, we don't trade a lot of Dow names, or I don't specifically, but I will say the S&P 500 is kind of in that middle ground. This is just like a simple way to put this for any of you guys watching. Basically, if you're doing more like tech names, which is majority of what you trade if you're on this channel, is NASDAQ names. And then there's the S&P 500 in the middle, and then there's the Dow. The Dow and the NASDAQ names are pretty much not very similar, the holdings inside there. The S&P has a mix of a bit of both. That's the best way I can draw it. So that's why sometimes you'll see the Dow outperforming, the NASDAQ underperforming, and then the S&P 500 kind of like in that middle ground. That's like the simplest way. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but we're something to think about, right? Now, Dow here on futures, as you can see, you're trying to get back above 46.67. So if you get above that, I think the S&P 500 is in a really good spot. The NASDAQ will ultimately move as well. So again, what you want to see, what I'm watching for. And the good thing here is that all of your indexes are moving up really well, right? It's not just one area. It's not just one sector. Everything's moving pretty solid. Another thing that I'll be watching here again is NVIDIA. We love talking about NVIDIA here on the channel. If NVIDIA can get back above 179.5, I like this back towards 182, 183 in a hurry, which ultimately pushes the NASDAQ up. Again, when you saw this move here on the NASDAQ on Monday, well, guess what happened when you moved up there on NVIDIA? When NVIDIA had that move on Monday, not the NASDAQ, right? Well, the NASDAQ followed immediately. It literally shot up from 24.75 into new all-time highs of 25.03, which is almost like a 300-point move, around a 300-point move, which is worth mentioning. This is why I watch it just so much, okay? Going into SPY, getting your levels. The levels here on SPY are really clear-cut. I prefer, obviously, futures, but giving you a visual. Back above 662, basically, you're looking back towards 665, high 664s. So you look good there as well. I think Qs look just really good. You could argue they have a small little level here. I don't really think so, but we'll see. Around 596, but ultimately above 593, you like it a lot. But above 596, I think you're looking back towards all-time highs, or at least 600 at the slightest, okay? So that's where you're at there. Now, the area of the market last week, and one of the biggest holdings was obviously it's Apple, right? And Apple it's going crazy, okay? Now, what's worth mentioning here, and fundamentals, I say this all the time. Like, I love technicals, I love using them, but if you get enough good fundamental information, it typically will trump any type of technical. And Apple's a good example. Like, Apple looked fine back above 240, looked really good towards 250, but 250 was a big level we were watching. But if you go to the daily here, I mean, you obviously just went straight through it, and I'd be willing to bet Apple's going to test, if not break, all-time highs very, very soon, which is basically 260. Now, in order for that to happen, you look really good, but you would imagine you want to see SPY and QQQ help you out here. What's interesting is Apple's had some pullbacks here, as you can see, but it's ultimately holding up very, very well. I will say, if NVIDIA isn't the best thing that moves the market, Apple would be a close second. So Apple moving up is just very good for the S&P 500 and most names under it. So worth mentioning, worth watching. One of my top watches this week is definitely going to be Apple. More towards the rest of the market, what we're looking at, again, like I said, I'm going to be jumping around. I want to go through a lot of names that I like. Hopefully, if you have questions, they're answered as we're going through this as well. So let's keep on going. Now, Microsoft also trying to break back up. I like it. Still looks fine. But again, haven't been doing too much with this. As you broke that lower high trend that you kind of had going on here, you broke up. You look fine. Like to see us hold above 512, start pushing back towards 517, 516. Get above that. You look good back into all-time highs as well. Meta, really kind of, it's just sitting down here on support. You know, this goes way back to your previous all-time high from February 15th, 14th. As you can see right there, you're holding 741 here on the hourly chart, clear as day. So 741, as long as you hold that, you look really good. It's worth this like intraday trade, scalp, etc. So be looking at that. I'd be looking towards 750, maybe a little bit higher. But again, one of my biggest names, what I'd be watching there. Hopefully that is pretty clear as well. So again, 748, 759, what you like to see, what you want to see moving forward there. Really interesting is Palantir. And it's really funny. So I was talking to Jay about this, and you might have seen, so there was like, I don't know if it's like actually real news, what it is, but there was like a bid to say, okay, the new Mag, it was always called the Mag 7, right? We all know the new Mag 7. But now they were like, okay, well, let's do the Mag 10. There's more names. And what's funny is they wanted to throw Palantir in that category of the Mag 10. Like, I think Palantir, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I was wrong about Palantir, like, way back. Like, I should have been more aggressive on it. But putting Palantir in the same conversation as Apple, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Meta, Google, Netflix, Tesla, like, it's kind of crazy. That's a wild thing. Like, they might be the best company as far as, like, using AI right now in drones and everything that they're doing, specifically with this data and AI. But that's crazy. That's a crazy thing to say and to like put on that list. It's just like the revenue's not there. I mean, they did $1 billion in revenue. Like, cool. And maybe they keep smashing and growing, which I think they will keep growing. Don't get me wrong. But it's just, I think it's a little premature, personally. But I could be wrong. Yeah, I just want to make sure it's a little crazy. But above 176, you're looking back into 182. Below 176, I think you have room all the way back down to like 171, 169. So definitely be watching that. One of the top names on my list too to be trading and watching. Super easy to trade as well. Tesla's crazy, man. Tesla, maybe we're not talking about it enough, but I kind of think this can hit all-time highs. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to hit all-time highs this week. I don't want to go crazy on you guys. But this is one of the more impressive charts overall in the market right now. Let's break this down just a little bit. So this is a daily time frame. This is not like an hour or a 15-minute or something ridiculous. This is high time frame stuff, right? And you have this ascending triangle formed out basically at 426, 425. You mount above, and you're just staying above it like all last week. Super impressive. I mean, this is like crazy to think about. You get above 441 and hold. I mean, you don't got much. Like, you really don't. I would have to argue like 454 into like 465 easily. And then obviously all-time highs like 490, 488. But Tesla's a monster here. You have to be watching what Tesla's doing. I mean, and going short on it doesn't make any sense. Now, if you start to hold below 425, which you've tried to do, you just really can't. Maybe below 414, it's a short. 100%, you're losing a lot of strength. So if you do start getting this downside move, like break, retest, and pushing down, you don't have a lot of liquidity. You have a gap fill of 400, 396. Makes sense. But there's no reason, there's no reward opportunity for getting in this prematurely. Great outing, great showing from buyers. And this is another major thing here is like you saw like some chop, some pullback on on the NASDAQ, on ES, on Dow this week. Really a lot on Dow, especially in the week. But some of these names are still sitting at their highs, like Apple, Tesla. Those are your really strong ones right now, obviously. Those are the top names I'd be watching if we start getting strength in the market for a push into all-time highs or price discovery. So again, I mean, Apple, obviously top of the list, strongest name. Tesla, it's right there, man. It is definitely holding up. Google has done a lot, but again, I'm not trading this here. Just too high. Being a little bit conservative here. I'm not looking to get crazy. So yeah, Netflix kind of just chilling here. Really weird. I'll be totally honest with you. Kind of strange action you're getting here on Netflix. Above 1208. I like it. Looks good above the 50 MA. You hold that looking for 1215, 1216, and then ultimately back into 1230. Another big thing here as well. Again, like same things over and over and over. Again, you kind of have a little bit of a downtrend kind of formed out here, as you can see. You start breaking above 1215, 1216. Highly likely you start getting a little bit of illiquidity, a little bit of a breakout, increased volume, pushing to 1230, which also lines back up with the NASDAQ getting stronger as well. So the NASDAQ gets strong. Netflix above 1215. $15 of upside. Super easy trade. If you want to get aggressive early on the week, as long as you're above the 50 MA, it's a long. Great reaction down there at 1200. Love to see that. One of the downside trades we had was down to 1200, mentioned in Discord. But again, what I'd be watching, how I'd be watching it there also. A little bit further going into it, TSM, as far as semiconductors, I love NVIDIA. I think it's the top semi out there. But TSM's been a great mover. I want to highlight that right now. And right now, TSM's kind of moving like in a little bit of a downtrend, as you can see here. So you can clearly see that little channel. You start breaking out of this, you look really good. Back above 276.5. It's a slap. You want to take that back to the upside. It looks really good as well. Downside plays going on this week. I still think Oracle's really interesting. I did not hold any of my short position from Oracle over the weekend. I'll say that right now. But below 292, you have no liquidity down to 264, 258. You have the 50 MA down here at 258. Your previous all-time highs back here at 261. I mean, they had the really good news about TikTok, and I think the TikTok's news is huge. Like, don't get me wrong. You just have no liquidity. Is it by the news or by the rumor, sell the news? That's kind of where you're at here in this play for me. Be watching it. Not a huge fan, though. I think Oracle probably has a little bit of downside working in the works here as well. So, again, definitely be watching that one. Cloud names, I'm still you're going to be wrong sometimes on these, or not even wrong, but you're going to miss out on opportunities. So, CrowdStrike, we had a big trade here last week, obviously, on the big breakout. Super awesome, cool. Now, if CrowdStrike gets back into 456, I think it's a long opportunity. Until then, though, I'm being very patient. There's no reason for 456, 444, whatever. But I'm not risking it here. I'm being patient. The name I like more is Pan W, especially if I'm going longer dated. Pan W still is, I think it's easily one of the best looking names in the market as well. Here's the weekly chart. You're finding resistance at 207, 208. You start to mount this, it's going to steamroll. It's going to snowball. This is what you want to see as well. Pan W is a very strong name. But again, some people getting mad, well, oh, you're rejecting this. And I'm like, guys, like, grab time, do what you got to do. I just talk about the names I like, what I'm watching, kind of where I see us going. AMD, still a decent looking name. This is one of the names we went long on last week as well, week before, I think, also. But you got to be patient here on AMD now. You have to break above the 50 MA, which is 165, 166. Above that, you look good. Be patient until then. The risk reward here is tight. It's a tough trade, and you ultimately could get rejected. Amazon, another big play out here as well. You're actually there's a few big opportunity plays out there in the market right now. Amazon definitely is one of the big ones. Amazon 200 SMAs down here, like 215, 214. I might have missed my opportunity here. I mentioned this in Discord being one of my top plays I was watching. I had this little level here marked out, and you bounced in it, and it's kind of been haunting me ever since. I like Amazon. I'd probably get in time. I think you have room to 224, back into 227 as well. Be careful. Just it's been real weak. The one thing I will say about Amazon that was nice was you were holding your 50 MA grinding. Well, when you lost it, you dropped basically $10 in like under a day. So definitely be watching that. One of the top names I like, but definitely a little bit weaker here. Hims, it's kind of coming back on my list. Now I was being a little too conservative here. Now, combined with the IWM chart, I think Hims is one of the bigger opportunities. Got that lower high downtrend you're kind of sitting in right now, going all the way back into February this year. We traded Hims a few times. I like it though. If IWM breaks out, Hims can go crazy. Where you like it the most is near the 50 MA, $48 and then $43. Those are your buy levels. But again, what I be watching, what I keep on my chart. If you have questions about that, let me know as well. But nothing too crazy to mention there. Just ultimately what I'm looking for, what I'm watching, why I like it. Okay. The only area of the market that I'm not shocked by is Bitcoin. I'm surprised, not shocked. If that makes sense, right? Somewhere in the middle. Okay. You have the Nasdaq holding up really well and made all-time highs, and Bitcoin is lagging. However, you're retesting previous all-time highs. So this could be a recipe for like success, to be totally honest. And you can clearly see here, if I just drag this out, how you're respecting it. You rejected, you broke above, now you're testing it. So if you hold 108.7, you look really good. As far as Bitcoin names to trade, if I'm going to do anything, you guys already know SMCI, Coinbase, those are my top names. SH. You got to get above like $71 and hold like on a day. I would say like a 2 hour, 3 hour daily would be the best. But I think it's really interesting. Again, we've saw some good volatility from like those lows. You literally jumped up from 50 into like 74. That was crazy. We'll see what happens. But if Bitcoin can get start moving back to the upside, bullish gets above $71. I think this is one of the bigger, if not the biggest opportunity in crypto. That's a hot take. I will say. But again, definitely be watching that. Hands down, one of the more interesting plays out there. 110%. Okay. But from there as well, a few of the plays that haven't gone as planned, okay? And I just want to be totally accountable, go over those as well. Number one, Affirm. Again, Affirm has it, and when you're looking to trade breakouts and you're holding or going long at highs, like I always say, like your stops got to be tight, right? They just have to be. So Affirm, was trying to hold 90, 91. It ended up getting a little push like 93 and then came back down. Now you're back below the 50 MA. So for me, I'm scratching this. I'm not watching this. I'm not doing anything. I'll have an alert set near the 200 SMA at $63. That's where I might get aggressive to buy. Or if you start getting back above 85 or 89, I'd like to buy there as well. But in this little area, not interested. Again, I only want to get the big move. I just don't like it right now. Upstart. Again, I liked Upstart a lot near the 200 SMA. You kept bouncing there for it seemed like weeks, like 3-4 weeks. And now you're back below this. And again, below 200 SMA, I'm not going long on anything. So yeah, unless it's like a leap, and I'm not buying a leap on Upstart here. Right now, the only mid cap I'm in love with right now is more of Hims. Palantir is interesting, but it's out of that mid cap territory now. Well, more plays, obviously. There's going to be tons of mid cap setups. So it's important that people don't get wrapped up on specific stocks, especially if things go against your trade plan, right? You got to be able to like set an alert. Say, okay, if this gets back above that, I'm back to being interested. But until then, I can't do nothing on it. And really sticking to your guns and sticking to your plan. That's ultimately what I'm doing, what I'm watching. If you have any questions, comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking as well. See you guys tomorrow on YouTube. Have a good one, traders.